Thank y'all for coming. I want to do a quick briefing this afternoon on a case. I guess most of the people in the viewing area and the readership area know it as an Instagram case and involving pornography and some underage individuals. And there seems to be a lot of these cases being investigated right now in different areas of the state. But the one we have right today we're talking about seems to be kind of an isolated event based on the way we got it, and then when we investigated it, what we found out. That a young lady shared a picture with a friend, and then he shared it with a friend who decided to go on Instagram and open up an account. And I think the site it posted was These Hoes 01 was the one that this popped up, I believe, on the 24th. We learned about this case from the resource officer at the school who called our detectives that specialize in this. They went and interviewed the boys. First they talked to the victim, then they interviewed the boys that were mentioned, and when the main suspect was spoken with and then interviewed, he admitted to what he had done. The account was up that one day, and it appears it was taken down immediately that day. And like I said, this one seems to be isolated from all the others because it is one girl, one picture, and then one small group, and then one says, "I did it," and we really believe that's what happened here. The ages, there's a lot of questions about appropriate charges, what else we might could charge, and with the victim being 15, the suspect being 17, and the picture that was posted, we feel like we charged appropriately at this time. It wasn't, thank goodness the shots were a waist above instead of waist down. That would have changed some things. So certainly, you talk copycat. This is Saturday a week ago. My phone started burning up, my Facebook, and then a couple of our detectives, we had some parents upset. Some of these had popped up that weekend. So we don't feel like they're connected to that. I know Granite Quarry Police Department's working on one. Lannis Police Department's working on a case. And I think ours just developed basically because it was a smaller group and that the person that was encountered confessed to what he had done. So not that we're in competition with anybody, these things need to stop, but the main thing I really want to say, on top of we're glad we got this one stopped, that we are going to prosecute these, we are going to investigate them, and I know the other agencies are, but the parents and the teenagers have to take some responsibility for this, that if you don't allow those pictures to be taken and you don't send them out once you do take them, then these things won't happen. So just be smart about what you do with a camera and a phone, and not put those kind of pictures about yourself out there. It's certainly bad when people take advantage of you, but don't make it easy for them to do it by providing those pictures.
Do you know if the 17-year-old who created the account had intentions of posting more pictures? Did he just get caught after the first one?
I don't know the answer to that. He's not been in trouble. Not a real bad kid, an athlete, in fact. And I think it was just, if we could get in his head, maybe he would say he saw it and thought it was funny to do it and cute. Kids are kids, and they are creatures of habit, so they watch what other kids do.
And did you have to execute search warrants to find out who it was, or was it just sort
I
of
think this one worked totally different. I know in some cases there are search warrants that have to be done to identify IPs and account holders, but I think in this one, with the way the information was very specific and the victim was confident that it had gone to one person, and when that person said, "Well, I only did this with it," it just kind of streamlined this case faster than some of these other cases will move along. Not as technical and scientific as these other cases might be.
How was this brought to y'all's attention?
The victim confided in the resource officer, which is a good reason we have resource officers. They build that connection. Sometimes students might not come forward if they didn't have that bond.
So had the student seen that her picture was posted? Or?
That's correct. That is correct.
Have you requested any assistance from the SBI at this point?
Not on this one. We might have a fallout of these tomorrow reported. Some people get embarrassed, and if the picture goes down, the victims don't come forward. Certainly, if we need their expertise, they're there. We have an agent that works in this office with us daily. So we haven't requested any help, but hadn't turned down any either. So we know that their computer crimes unit is working on this more so than their local field agents, because it is a technical crime on this. What is there, 10 counties involved, I believe now, maybe. So obviously their expertise and their span statewide versus our Rowan County jurisdiction would be helpful.
Sheriff, there's other similar cases. I know this is sort of different, but similar cases to pictures being posted on Instagram and other social networking sites. do you know if this is the first known arrest in cases like this?
I don't know that other departments around here might have had one, and it just maybe didn't garner as much attention because it happened, it was isolated, but you know, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I think this thing has really blossomed or bloomed out into a major issue instead of, you know, one little thing here, one little thing there. And so I don't know the answer. I mean, you know, there's probably some stats out there that could show us, but, you know, it could have been charged as cyberbullying more so than what you have. But again, you know, the parents and the teenagers have got to watch what they do. I mean, they might as well assume that picture, everybody in the world is going to see it, because it's quite possible.
And did he shut down the account, or did you all have it disabled?
He did. I think it was probably I messed up.
So within the same day, within
I
a
think
few
that's correct.
hours?
Clint, how quick? Pretty quick, right?
Within 24 hours.
Yep, okay.
Do you know if he had those similar instructions on his account like the other ones that said, you know, direct message me and I'll approve you and then you can send me a picture and I'll post it?
I don't know how he got into it. She had a question specific that you might know, Clint.
Do you know if his account was set up similarly to the other 3 that Landis is looking into, where it said direct message me a picture and then I'll post it for you, and it was just more layman? Okay.
And you did say that there was one girl, one picture.
That's it, as far as I know. And Detective Malden's here and confirming that, you know. And that's why I said this case just went so fast compared to, you know, search warrants or subpoenas and interviews. This kind of was able to go just real quick. So we're fortunate, and the young lady's fortunate too.
Have you spoken with her parents at all? What is their reaction, or?
I would say they understand that there's some things they could have done to stop this, and that they weren't happy with their daughter's behavior. And that's quite appropriate, but parents need to be involved and know what's going out there. To the extent they can. We all know kids can do all kinds of things on phones and computers these days, probably better than all of us in this room.
What about Juan's parents?
I haven't spoken to them. I know the family from watching him grow up play sports. I know they are inactive with their children. I'm sure they won't tolerate it. I would really be surprised if the young man didn't get punished, probably more so than the criminal system, by his parents. I know his dad's always been very involved with his life.
Is there anything else we didn't touch on that you'd like to go over?
No, you know, I think we've hit it. You know, we think this is an isolated one. That's why we're kind of solo. And that we want those parents to understand there's things we can do to prevent these things from happening to some extent. Just be involved with your kids and what they're putting out there.
Sheriff, you may already have asked or answered this question, I should say, but do we know if these are copycat accounts at this point?
You know, I don't know that it came up, but it would be hard to figure that it wasn't. I mean, kids see things, and you know, it's been going on for about a week or 10 days. Like I said earlier, that Saturday a week ago, my phone started burning up early on a Saturday morning. My detectives that investigate those crimes had people calling them, even going to their homes. And we knew it was a problem, and with Instagram, it's a little tougher than Facebook, even though it's kind of one and the same. Instagram's a little tougher company to work with than Facebook. Facebook's just own it. And Instagram, stationed out of Canada, is a little different with the way they operate.
So the account that he was operating is separate from the other 3, the Rowan County.
Yes,
ones.
that's and that came up, and but as far as we know, this one's totally separate because it's one picture, one girl. We sent to one person, and then he sent it to somebody else. And when the detectives did that follow up, it was clear that this is the guy that did it, and he confessed. And you know, so that's why we think this one was just totally isolated from everything else that's going on.
Any cooperation from the school district?
Oh well, that's how it started. Kind of the resource officer got the information. And then once Mr. Bautista was charged, he was taken back to the school so they could handle disciplinary. Dr. Duran up there is the principal. We have a good relationship with him, and he stays on top of things at his school. So yeah, nothing that we'd say anything about the school system other than they're there for us.
And are you guys working with Landis Police on the other accounts?
Not right now. I think we know what they're doing, but they're doing their thing. I think Granite Quarry's doing the same thing. And once it starts figuring out that it might be kids out in the county or this or that, we'll help each other, but we haven't asked anybody and they hadn't asked us, so there's not any issues. And same thing with the SBI. But our case was just so point specific that we didn't ask anybody for help
Is this your only case?
right now. it won't surprise me if it's the last one, it would surprise me. But you know, the good news is by you making an arrest, those people get exposed, so you hope if there's copycats out there, they don't want to be the copycat that gets arrested, and they'll learn from it and it'll slow this thing down some.
And if you could just repeat the charges.
He was and I think it went out, but he was charged with cyberbullying. The detectives explained to me, and they know more about the law specific than me, that the pictures were such that if they'd been something else, the charges could have been more severe, and if the ages were slightly different, it could have been more severe. But suspect 17, victim 15, there's some reasons you couldn't charge some more serious things.
And we've heard police say that these pictures are kind of traded like baseball cards these days. Is
Right.
that kind of something that you're seeing? Is that how he got a hold of this?
I would think so, because a girl sent it to a guy, and then that guy sent it to his friend. So, you know, I mean, it's just accepted behavior, I guess, to some degree, unfortunately. A little risque, probably more so than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. Things are just a little different and travel a little faster. Didn't have to worry about the internet getting you in trouble back then. So, again, you know, if we have more, we're certainly going to work them, and if we need the SBI, we're going to call them, and if we need Landis or China, whoever it is, we'll call them. Certainly work with them. And thank you for coming.